I don't know where we start, but maybe I will risk the end.
Okay. Okay.
I will risk the end in the following way. 60 years old now, you've been.
Yeah.
It's more than half a century of living.
Yeah.
And at this moment, what project most occupies your time?
I must say what occupies my time now is really looking at what is to create substance and is to create the kind of projects that I'm going to know that I'm not just, because before I used to just get into the studio just to make a nice project and just think about I'm going to make sales and I'm going to make money. I've gone past that. I'm going to a place and saying, whenever I get into the studio, I'm about to actually put my life out there, because whatever I'm putting down to document is going to be there for life. How am I using that to change somebody else's life, including mine? Because music, as I know it, is actually God's transport for His word. Because God created music so that the rivers can give us the melody and transport from the birds to the air to everything, you name it. Music carries a whole lot more than how we've been using it. So I'm getting to a place now where I'm looking for substance. I want something that I can know it was not just a waste of time, but something bigger.
It's certainly something maybe I'll follow up much later.
Yeah.
But bass,
Yeah.
in it seems such an instrument one undermines. Like there aren't a lot of bass leads. We've got guitarists, songs and stars over a guitar.
Yeah.
Over a saxophone, over a trumpet, sometimes even a trombone.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but they're there.
Yeah.
Then you've got pianists. The bass is like drums. It's always there. But very few people will say, Herbie obviously, and he has to play the exotic bass, obviously. But in a way, very few musicians across genres, certainly in the country, if you want to be a star, you don't quite play bass. How did you come across bass as an instrument? And at what point did you say, this is going to be my forever love?
I was watching my brother, who was a bass player, playing bass. And I would always be listening to him and how he played. And then one day, because I was playing guitar at first, guitar was playing because, when you're playing guitar, you've got the complete instrument. And then I listened to my brother playing bass and I thought, what's not his name? I was like, wow, it's an interesting instrument because when it comes in, for some reason, it seems to take over everything. And then one day, I had an opportunity to jump up on stage to play when he was not available to play. And when I touched the instrument, immediately I felt like, oh, this sounds like an extension of my own voice. So, and I was in a guitar was there, but this instrument just took over from me. And
it sounded like an extension of your voice.
Yeah. It felt like I can express myself musically better with this instrument than any other instrument. And mind you, I'd learned to play piano, but bass and me, we just clicked. I was like, this is it. Me and this instrument, we'll go to the next level. And we've stayed with each other ever since. Yeah.
If we were to say, explain to us what is bass and what is its place in African sound.
Bass, I call it the foundation of music where others can build on. You can even have drums, but bass actually can cover the spectrum of both what the drummers do and cover the frequencies that build a foundation on which you can build. Bass becomes a foundation and that which hugs you is at the same time. Interesting enough, that's what a lady that I was working with in Japan said when they were talking about me. Said, what do you think about Victor and his bass playing from South Africa now being interviewed in Japan? She said, it feels like he hugs, the bass comes around and just hugs all of the music. I was not aware of it, of that is, expression. That because after she said it, I was like, that makes sense. Because as a bass player, by the way, for me, my thinking on bass is how do I create something that's going to make everybody comfortable and allow everybody to express themselves, yet driving the whole music thing, keeping it moving. So for me, bass, that's the bigger essence of it.
And what has it been its place in the expression of, I know there are many South African signature sounds, like the sounds whose origins is South Africa.
Yeah.
But what if you were to maybe even give us examples of the place of bass in designing, inventing, articulating a signature in music which we may say it's a South African signature?
You know what? I remember, for an example, when I had Osipho Kumete, because Osipho Kumete took bass and made it a lead instrument. If you think about it, Isakile, when I had the group Isakile, and then Osipho had his popular song Mantombi, the do 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 do. He was combining both leading and accompanying at the same time. So Osipho Kumete became the kind of bass player that when you listen to, you kind of like say, oh, this is very authentically South African. And then after that, a person who took it to another level, Ubagiti Kumalo, popularly known through now Graceland, and Ubagiti, of course, has been in the US for a while. Paul Simon and all those things. And so when he played bass in the US, everybody's heads turned around. They were like, we've never heard this before. Not that there were no other bass players that have played. I mean, you've got Richard Bonner right now, who's just come up to another level as well. He's expressed himself, but I'm just talking before Richard Bonner. He's talking about all the the Super Kumetas, but Bagiti Kumalo now, and interestingly enough, when Amaotela Queens were always in the US, bass player from Amaotela Queens actually became the man who would live they would also book him to do Ama sessions on the side. And they actually to find out that this is the man who was the first one to introduce the electric bass in South Africa. And so whenever I used to listen to him play, and I was like, wow, because then it became a signature sound that made South Africa popular. So a lot of music was then built on top of all those kind of like giants of music that have been around. So by the time we're listening to things like what can we call? By the time we listen for let me say even Lady Smith Black Mambazo. Lady Smith Black Mambazo, there were a lot of drive from the bass, the singer. Whenever you heard Lady Smith Black Mambazo, before the bass came in, the music was just there. But when the bass singer came, it was always a signature. So there's something about the low frequencies and the style in which it is played that becomes very, very distinctly South African. You know, by the way, that man is Joseph Makwela. So before I forget to mention, Joseph Makwela is like for me, the godfather of South African bass, electric bass. And so he played in a different style that a lot of Americans used to they used to book him. I found out he was doing lots of sessions. They wanted him just to play the South African style, so which is beautiful.
What was the first major project you did, and who was it with?
My first major project that I did, or when it comes to major, because it became an international, was when Mamiri Makeba came back to the country. And I was asked to produce that album, where in that album there was going to be, of course, legendary Brahima Sigela. And then also there was Tsepo Tsula was on that album, Nina Simone was on that album, and then Dizzy Gillespie was on that album.
Those are very big names.
Huge names, man. And there I'm a rookie, of course. There I was in my 20s, early 20s. And I was still trying to find out how even this production thing went, you know. So I had people they held my hand throughout that whole time. So that was for me.
But how do you come to produce in a project of that magnitude? I mean, if I'm Mama Miriam, I possibly would have thought of Quincy Jones, like to do a magnanimous project, bringing together.
Yeah.
Like just the magnanimity of it, the glory as well. Like those are big musicians who have written some of the eternal musical works.
You know, the way to answer it is to bring a history on. We used to be in a band called Friends First, and in that band we used to play. We're trying to just combine South African, music through different cultures, different traditions of music. And in that music, when we were doing that, there was a woman called Felicia Marion who used to also travel to go to the US a lot to go with Mamiri Makeba and tour with her. But then I used to have a gentleman called Malcolm Duplessis, who was a South African who was actually managing Friends First. So long and short, Malcolm takes the piece of music, puts it in Bagitu Kumalo's hand to say, can you play this? Bagitu Kumalo takes this to Mamiri Makeba to say, listen to this music. Mamiri Makeba says, I want those people to, whoever was, send me this music, I want that music. So now, busy writing. Every single song I write, I send to Mamiri Makeba now. And as the more we did that, then is the more she was developing this repertoire. She would write. She says, thank you for the songs. Well, here in the USA, I'm singing them and they keep me grounded towards home. There's another song that is called I Still Long For You, actually. And that's just another friend, Steve McEwen, who we wrote, actually he wrote that song, and we're together in that, took that song, sent it to Mamiri Makeba. Mamiri Makeba was just singing that song all the way, all the time. So by the time she was coming back to South Africa, she was like, I have got to meet this young man who's been in my life sending me good music. So she landed in South Africa. That day I was right there. And by the time she did every kind of like written with everybody else, Mamiri Makeba never loved big attention. So she's like, I need to sneak off. So we went off, and then we went to Tembi Mjali's place. We're just sitting there so she can just have a conversation and get to meet me properly. So from there, she said, well, I'm doing an album, for a year, for my first return to South Africa. So that's how I managed to get into the whole album.
And Gillespie, Simone, Masigela, Tsepo Tsula. I can only imagine. How did the recording session work? Did they all do the music in a single place?
No, what happened is we recorded first all the tracks here in South Africa, and then we had to travel to actually to they take the music over to the guys for them to add on the other side. So yeah, they didn't come to South Africa, of which it would have been great, to have done it that way. But so we had Roberto Maglioli, who was managing Miriam Makeba. Roberto is from Italy. And he's the one who actually facilitated the whole thing, and together with Malcolm Duplessis as well, was managing our group Friends Fest at that time. So Roberto was like, in the middle of like, we need to, and he was like, I don't know, but now, because for an example, when the word went out that Miriam Makeba is recording, of course, Nina Simone's like, I got to be there. And no way he's going to record that. I'm not there. And then there's Nina Simone. Then all of a sudden the Disney girls say, oh, how can Miriam record and I'm not there? I need to play something.
Yeah.
So, there we go. And now these big giants are just like, that's when I found out how powerful Miriam Makeba was. Oh, you just have no clue.
So as a producer, maybe just give us a quick masterclass. What does a producer of music do?
As a music producer, you must first understand that you're a servant. You're here to serve somebody else's purpose. You need to help them tell their story. So if I'm producing an artist, I need to find out what is their story. What do they like? What drives them? So that I can choose, even when I'm choosing the music, because most times, as much as I write music, I prefer to open it up, to find the songs. And now, after I've established a theme of this is who this person is all about. If you're an activist by nature, for an example, I need to find songs, that's why even with Miriam Makeba, I had to do, Tula Sizwe, and then combine it, I Shall Be Released, and so all those songs were driven by what makes her come alive. So I need to find from you as an artist when I'm recording you, what makes you come alive first? And what are your best keys that you can express yourself in? And I need to find, and then by the time I'm collecting all the music, I've been doing a research on you, because my duty is not to project me on you. My duty is to make sure that I make you, I become the conduit on which you can be the one to bring out your message to the people, and I support you effectively. That is what production is all about for me,
Outside then of this is the biggest project. Maybe firstly paint for us how many projects you've been working in, and perhaps tell us the project you rate the highest.
Wow. Sure. I remember that, for me, the best projects have been the ones that actually make me still, even up to now, want to listen back to them. And whenever I hit play, good memories come alive. They're not driven about how many sales there were, even though, for an example, I talk about the project that I did for now Bishop Benjamin Dube. When we did the live album, the first live album, I Feel Like Going On. I've known him from, we all grew up almost literally, the fathers and stuff as children, his father and his father, they're all part of the family in the Assemblies of God Church. And so I used to listen to him sing, and all the albums he was doing, every time I'd listen to an album, I'd be like, I'm hearing something else with this man. I keep hearing. And so by the time we had our friend who came from the U.S. who was actually had a label called Harmony Records that was associated with Sony in the U.S., who came and said, I'm looking for a South African artist. I was like, go no further than Benjamin Dube and Lionel Peterson. So went into the studio with Benjamin, and that album, we recorded it. I had gone through searching what makes Benjamin come alive and what makes even myself feel like so we went back home to our roots of music. And that album, I remember even up to now, I can just almost like I get a picture of where I was standing, playing, and also it just became a very emotional album because one of my brothers at the time, who we were very close with, hey, was it just passed on, and I was torn in between grieving and serving. And it made the whole thing even more emotional.
Yeah.
It was so deep because it cut me so deep that this brother of mine just passed. And so, yeah, so when that album hit the stage, it was a mixture of emotions and the coming alive and something being born. Felt like something was being born from there. So that album, I feel like Going On was one of my favorites album that way. And because it still continued selling for a long time, and most of the selling of that album, I even told people, I was like, it's not like we managed to get the right sound, we got the right sales. No, we just managed to serve best, and that became my best album for that reason. One of my best albums. Yeah. So another album, of course, we did Place of Hope, where we combined 16 artists, 32 artists, 16 from the US, 16 from South Africa. Listen, hey, having Lettuce with Black Mambazo in the studio, and there's a whole history there with Bob Joseph Shabalala and my father, and as well. And and Ladies with Black Mambazo in the studio, and Sibongile Khumalo was there. She recorded with me, and I had Tshepo, and then I actually had what I've always wanted to have, my three tenors. So I did Now or Never with Nana, Ray, and Tshepo. All of them, they did, but they did it in their own way. I was like, I've always been like, I want to feature these guys as my three tenors. And then in the USA, then I had Gerald Albright, who played saxophone on it, and members of Take Six did, the different parts. And then we had Al McKay, who was Earth, Wind and Fire's guitarist. And man, the list of some of the greatest artists that were actually on that project is just as more than amazing. It was a great project.
Yeah.
So, and I loved doing it. And that project, it was one of my favorites because I just saw what it was like to combine two worlds in one. So, for an example, I had a track where Louis Mhlanga was playing guitar, and with Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. Bella Fleck was playing the banjo and with the popular Victor Wooten as well, who I really call a good friend. And to have all those people in one room and they were exchanging lines. Louis was playing so South African. I was like expecting him to do more Zimbabwean style. He did more South African style. And there was Bela Flip from all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, bringing in the banjo, of which he himself was playing it in. It's just powerful. So to see all these different worlds combine in one project was just beyond. It's just a powerful project.
I wonder then, okay, so there's lots of people that you have not just produced, but have worked with. And, but in your production library, let's just try and do the count.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Mam Miriam Makeba in a comprehensive project, Benjamin Dube, particularly the live record, his first live record, it would seem. I feel like Going On. 999, I think, or 2000,
Yeah, even early actually. 99. Yeah, so I need to remember
somewhere there.
Yeah, my dates are all over the place. Yeah,
Ringo
Madlingo's yes. When I did Ndumba. It's so interesting because Ringo had come to the house just to come and visit. He used to love visiting with our daughter, and when he came to the house, we were talking to him. I said, "Hey, Ringo, listen, come and check out my studio." And I had a studio in the bedroom at that time. He looks and he says, "Oh, Must you ready?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, when can you start?" I'm like, "When can you start? I've been waiting for you." Ndumba started in my bedroom. That whole album, we did it right there. But anyways, it became such a. It's one of my favorite albums as well.
One of the songs there.
Yakotola.
Yakotola, yeah.
I actually wrote that song. I was just sitting in the studio. I was like, man. And I started writing that song. And by the time he arrived, I said, Ringa, think about this. I love this. I just wrote this now. On your way. And the Ringa starts saying, oh, Yakotola. And that was constructed that song.
Yeah.
And it became our favorite songs. And that's just one of the songs,
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting story. Yes, I think I've heard him say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've heard him say it exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Freshly grounds.
Yeah, yeah. Freshly ground, wow. Freshly ground, it happened like this. Peter Cohen called my friend, and at the time we were business partners as well, JB Arthur, and he said, listen, I've got a new band from Cape Town, and we actually we're going to Joburg, to Downtown Studios, and they've given us time so that we can just record and just hear ourselves, but giving us free studio time. And so JB Arthur says, Vic, I'm not available on that day, but can you go for me? I was like, yeah, sure, because we've been doing quite a few things together. And when I went into the studio, I listened to Freshly Ground. The first time I met Zolani, I'd known Peter Cohen. And from the first note when they played, I was like, no, this is
fresh.
This is fresh. This is really fresh. I was like, no, there's a lot in here. And by the end of the day, I said, guys, can you save some of the tracks that you're doing? I was like, this is it. This is a sound that has not been heard before. So finally, by the time we went into the studio to record it, and the funniest thing, that album, when we recorded it, I used to, because you must think about which one is the best single, which one. We're looking at other tracks. I was talking about other tracks. And guess which was the last track to be recorded in that whole album? Dooby-doo. So it's like, we've got this other track as well. It's more like 70s cheesy. So they were like, oh, this is nice. And we're not even thinking, and I, as much as I loved it, I was not thinking so much about it. I was looking at the other tracks in the album.
And that became the explosive.
That becomes a single. And the first album that I know, actually, they chose the second single, which is a ballad with I'd Like to Call You. That's a ballad. I've never had a ballad being a single, but it became one of the biggest singles. So yeah, Freshly Ground was another highlight as well in production. Just a big highlight.
But you also worked with, and I mean, I'm mentioning all of this because I'm driving to a certain point about producing music often always gives the artists or the creatives this capacity to traverse different wells of sound. These are not, maybe you will help us, maybe there is something common, but let's go. You worked with Lucky Dube, which would have been a reggae artist.
Yeah. And funny enough, actually, when Lucky gave me a call, he said, and he called me Sbali. He said, yes, Sbali, yeah. I'm doing a recording. I know you like jazz, but can you play reggae? I said, did he just ask me, can I play reggae? Yeah. Like, I'm a dude who used to grow up on Burning Spear. I'm a dude who grew up with all the different reggae sounds. What are you talking about, man? Let's go into the studio. And sure enough, Lucky Dube, we started recording, and we did those many recordings with Lucky Dube. Man, it was powerful because I listened to Lucky's soul more than just Lucky's way of. Lucky had a soul in music, and he started most of his music. All the songs that he recorded, bass starts the whole thing. He used to have little tape recorders, and whenever he was at the farm in Gogo, he started hearing bass lines and sing bass lines, and then when he came over to us, they said, "Okay, Smiley, here's the song do 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 do." That we feel
He says, "Play it."
He said, "I'll play." So I'm starting to play that one, and then I keep adding some more things. That he's like, "That's it, Smiley. Keep it like that. Don't change it." So they're now I'm with Lucky Dube, and we're doing reggae, and we had fun. We had a great amount of fun with that.
So it's jazz, it's gospel, it's what is Ringo? Afro pop?
Afro pop, you can call it that. But
Yeah, freshly grounds.
Yeah.
Maybe not far from that. You also would have mentioned, I suppose, Mam Miriam Makeba would have been a mixture of all of those in that single body of work. But interesting enough, you also had a lot of work you did, maybe not production, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, with Stimela.
Yeah. Stimela, interesting enough. When I was at Natal University on my final year, Ray Perry came over to visit at Natal University. He was talking about Graceland, the album. And when he spoke, I was like, I just said I really made it a point to go and want to meet him, and we need to connect. And so, that was 87. I sat with Ray and I was like, I asked him a couple of questions. I was like, oh, there's a lot in here, different to what I've known. I've always known Ray Perry. So Ray was full of music industry business type thing. So I said, I'm coming to Joburg and please give me time. And he was like, sure. And I used to wait outside Gallo sometimes just to see Ray before he walked in. Say, Ray, do you have a few minutes before? He ended up saying, come inside. So I started working with Stimela, which was an interesting thing because a lot of the jazz artists and people, when you go to university, you graduate under jazz, the jazz purist. You don't play anything else. You just play jazz. It must be pure. And I was like, man, I just love music. And so I went there and I said, there's something about Ray Perry and Stimela that makes a whole crowd of people respond back. So I want to find out what that is. What makes them do, because, for me, it's too easy to play some of these lines. I'm thinking, it's just easy, but then when I found out, when I went in there, I was like, no, it's not as easy as you think.
Yeah.
So that's when I went into Stimela, because I was giving myself more education so that I don't stay in a bubble. I just wanted to be a person with a panoramic view of what the music looks like. So that's a stimulant for me. And even up to now, I'm still a part of the family of stimulant, Yeah.
So that completes the picture for me. I mean, unless I'm missing a genre, I can't think of more different artists from a genre point of view than what I've mentioned.
Well, I'll throw in another genre.
Yeah.
It's called Afrikaans popular music. I recorded a few times with Geir Kosten.
Afrikaans.
I recorded with Johannes Blodruk, Kerkorrel, Kwas Kumbes. And
I don't know those people, man.
I know, man. Those are big guys.
I know myself, Mango Groove only. Huh? I know those tracks you're talking about.
And then when I started I went into that world because I was always just curious about.
How do you come to play Isi? Oh, no.
Yeah, man.
How does it even sound like?
Blame it on a man called Lloyd Ross, because when I went to Lloyd Ross, he had Shifty Records. And that's where I was introduced to Uvus Matlasela, by the way. So he had recorded Uvus Matlasela as part of Shifty, his label. So in Shifty, then he had all those Afrikaans artists. So he's the one who said, Vic, you're a nice fit for these guys as well. Come and record with this one. So whenever all those recordings started, I was more like, oh, what am I doing actually? But then I was like, there's something in here, because most of the music is not too many notes. So you're just thinking about it, dum, 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 and you're thinking, man, I'm not playing like for me, I must be like a ninja bass player, showing off my skills and everything. I let you find out that people don't remember all the many notes you played. They want to know what moved them. And I listened to the simplicity of what was going on also in the Afrikaans industry. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so I dabbled a bit in that. And also I dabbled a bit in classical music. I wanted to know how to conduct an orchestra. So
I see.
I did a whole Vivaldi in D major suite as a conductor. So yeah, that's when I knew, okay, now I've arrived.
But anyway, I forget I mean, there was Lady Smith, but that should have led me Tumbakanga and Maskandi. What were some of your crossing paths, the key projects that you came across in, let's take Maskandi.
Maskandi, the first time when I met I first met Puza Chemisi, for an example. And then I was listening to Puza Chemisi and I found out, that's like more like a Mpakanga more than Maskandi, but as much as it's Maskandi. But then I was starting to listen, I was like, hold on, there's a difference there in
Puza Chemisi is
Puza Chemisi is something
amazing.
And you must know that is the music that comes from Gomnyando, which is a different sound from the other clans, you name them. Even when you hear him when it is Tiningoma, Asitata my chance, Tiningoma, Yagitem Komazi, and then you say, Minomyando, Minesvelalem Komazi. I want to add. And so, I found myself actually finding out there's a lot of.
So you did work with.
I did some work with Puza Chemist. I didn't do a whole album. And then after that, I was called by Johnny Mokhali. Now, Johnny Mokhali is just traditional Sutu. And then there's Thomas Chauga and Shinyori Sisters. Volume 4 or 5, I forgot. He wanted me to add something into one of it. So now I'm doing music from Govenda and Tonga music and this and this. So all of a sudden, I was just getting called by all kinds of people, and that's where I found out the biggest school came from, is playing our music. So, there was a lot there. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. What then would you describe as music's place in the reconstruction of the human image and music's place in having helped our people not to be completely crushed by oppression?
You see, when you're talking like that now, that's when you're talking, and a lot was stripped from us, but they couldn't strip the music away from us. Because every time we got under pressure, music kept us alive. I used to actually, because growing up in Natal, it was not uncommon for a man who didn't have enough money for a bus fare to go into town, to strap a guitar around him and sing and not feel the distance. He's just walked all the way into the city. Now, I'm just talking first just coming from a level of being so depressed that you're thinking, I want to go work for my children, I want to put food on the table, and I cannot even afford bus fare, but I've got this little guitar. Before there was a brand of guitar called Bellini, and I do not know that, and there was not, you couldn't even afford a strap, so you should just tie a string, and he just keeps singing, and as you walk, all of a sudden hope rises. And because I think your connection with touching the ground comes alive, and the spirit of what surrounds you, the birds sing along with you, and they keep encouraging. Because when we were crushed, music kept us up. That's why even when you listen to the songs of his struggle, I mean, even up to now, if he sings Senzeni now, you can feel that whole thing that rises within, and so. Music really, I mean, I used to even see it at my own place at home. And at home, there was 8 people in a 4-roomed house. And I always need to be careful when I said, what 4-room? People are like, oh, it's a big house. I said, no. Not 4-bedroomed, 4-roomed house.
Yes, 4 rooms. So 4.
And so it was 6 of us, 4 boys, 2 girls, and then mom and dad. And I never recognized how much pressure my parents were under until when I grew up. I was like, wait a minute. And then music was just dominant in my place.
It's an interesting, I want to circle back. We'll come to this family situation. But the struggle. You did a lot of work as well, Mbongeni.
Yeah.
And Mbongeni, in my view, carried an important sound, an important genre that had, and my history here is as basic as it comes, but khona into enzakalayo in and around Gibson Kente, which I think Umbongeni was possibly wayephuzile. You know, he had properly got baptized in it. And was the last of its apostles. That sound we might risk as a country an important opportunity to preserve it. To preserve it. I'm not sure, but I mean that tradition. My name for it is Gibson Kente. You know, you crossed paths there. I mean, I know bits and pieces of it in the Sarafina project. You've got Kaifas Siminya, you've got Uprahu writing some of the music there. But it is a sound that I think we are turning our back on.
It's exactly when you say Gibson Kente. I remember there was even one of the plays, She Fears the Night. And when you say Gibson Kente, it left you emotionally, you know. Gibson Kente would just leave you worn out, you know. But he expressed so much of what was going on, you know. And Gibson Kente, I used to follow everything. I even, that album, Sikalo, I used to play Sikalo until, I don't know how many albums I played. At that time, it was just, I played, I wear the thing out, and then until I had to go and buy another one. I must have bought it 3 or 4 times, the ERP Sikalo. Just listening to Sikalo, and I was like, man, there's a lot here. And it was something that spoke about the deep cries within us as a people. And it is a tragedy if we do not get back to that music and revive it and keep it going. Because Umbongeni really did a lot with that. It did a lot with that. I mean, the expressions, the way of singing, you know, everything Umbongeni. I mean, I remember we used to go to Wabo YMCA and all those places. At that time, whenever there was a concert, Gibson Kente used to arrive in town and Nama Nempopo is such. And just announce, it's here YMCA was 7 o'clock. When they play Lapo, She Fears the Night. Lapo, we gather everything, Lapo, we run. We fill up YMCA. And just to watch. And it was not just entertainment, it was what made us come alive. We all connected to Gibson Kente one way or the other. Even up to when he couldn't, you know, it's a pity people like that. That's why the biggest gift we can give ourselves is to do a proper music university that measures on bringing out all the history of our own artists. Because we've got a lot that is laying there. I mean, when we talk about when I say Betty Koza, people are like, who's that? And then I think about this, and some of the music. I mean, we have the African ink spots. And some of the music that was done here, but that music needed to come back and be preserved.
Yes.
And be brought back to life. So, I know I've just gone all over the place. Because you touched another nerve, so now...
that tradition, coming back to your parents now, and we had this conversation a couple of times, you, myself, Benjamin Dube, and Lindelani Mkhize. That tradition of back to God. How influential was it to you in your musical development? But in a way, shouldn't the same sort of comments be made about the recovery? We were burying Obaba Ukumbi the other time. And, you know, for some reason, I had a very strong relationship, personal relationship, no Bab Gumbi, but it was late in his life, or maybe in the last 10 years before he passed. All those years, I didn't know he wrote so much music. And one of the standards, we were foreigners in relation to Israel. We were born by faith. I didn't know he wrote that. But there was a time, it seems to me, and your parents were musical geniuses of that time. Compositions that, if maybe ihubo incwadi amahubo way back to God ingabhalwa manje, they will be lost. Some of the sounds and the beautiful sounds might be lost forever.
I'm watching even the whole gospel music industry, Kona manje. People are still taking pages from Ikulongo Levangel. And from those songs, like even Mama Dube, Benjamin Dube's mom, she wrote a couple of songs. We'd be singing like this. I'd say, yeah, Epalai Mina, this and that, really. And all those songs were just born mostly Abefundis, when they would get up there. He'd get up there and inspired by a sermon, to make a sermon effective, he would sing it. And not taking, at the time, we were not even that wise enough to understand, hey, capture that, record
It's a composition.
It's a composition.
Yeah.
No, it became just a general song to be sung in church. We grew up singing those songs at church. And we just, Bab Gumbi would just get up there when he started, Ay Basalwan. Magunjena. And then Gunjenjenje, Gungemitandas. And then all of a sudden, after that captures somebody, and the Gunjenjenje, Gungemitandas, Gunjenje. Music was being composed right then and then. And we owe it as ourselves to actually give credit to those people. Really collect all that music, give credit, create a foundation to know how to help take care of the families who were part of, who are still around, not even knowing that they're the ones. There's Bob Donda, who actually was one of the biggest mentors for my life, who caused me to be able to go to Natal University, who actually made sure I got a scholarship to go to Natal. So all this, Nabobab Komonde, who are still around, they're all, and Obo Mama, who wrote the music, is Obo Mamnene, just passed on. And all those things, we've got treasure. Konamanje, and it really.
President Mbeki one day explained that there was a moment where I think between Cyril and Zuma, I don't remember, Ramaphosa and Zuma, one of them appointed Nathi Mthethwa as Minister of the Arts. And Mthethwa then sought President Mbeki out. Said, President, hey, I'm doing this thing here. I thought I must just come to appreciate Umabeni Vula, Noma, when you were founding the Department of the Arts. What did you have in mind? What is this department supposed to achieve? And I'm told that President Mbeki's answer was that it is the only ministry or department that was inspired from the Bible. It was inspired by a line or a scripture that says, what would happen if a man inherits the kingdom but loses his soul? You know what that does to you? Eh? Can you hear that? So in a way, these chaps are about to inherit a kingdom.
Yeah.
They're about to finally run South Africa.
Yeah.
And they are saying, no, but we should not lose our soul. It is this department then tasked with the preservation, the nourishment of a soul of a people. I mean, I say this by way of trying to maybe capture precisely these gaps, but maybe to ask you about your own reflections about the country's policies on the arts.
You know, it takes me back to the real theme song that helped establish that movement at that time. African National Congress, which was called Liza Lisiting. Because when you listen to the words of Liza Lisiting, by the time to Liza Lisiting, and then that song, that piece of music actually also has a warning, Guti. What would happen if we abandon the heart of who God is at a moment when it shouldn't? When you listen to Liza Lisiting, the reason why it became a complete foundational amongst many other foundations as such. So what I'm saying with that is that for us to recapture, because the kingdom is the most important part of how we can make things. We stuck with religion, but the kingdom has got principles that will make us achieve that which we're set up for. Even the whole message of Jesus was about the kingdom. He never preached anything else. He brought the kingdom is here. Repent. So how we can inherit a kingdom, but we can lose it all. Why? Because we'd never understood the principles and keys of the kingdom that will make us be successful. So, we lose so now we do not listen to the songs. We do not listen to the meanings. We're no longer following the script. Now we've become so intelligent that we're given an inheritance and we lost it.
But what would your thoughts, tell us your thoughts on South Africa's art policies? Maybe let's say the for music. For music. You are a quintessential post-democratic South Africa musician. Majority of your work is post-1994. And maybe also in the bridge of the creation, those years that lead to the creation and the realization of the dream and then the creation of the new South Africa. You have lived in this era, traversed different genres, worked across the board. Looking back now, what would be your biggest, most important recommendation from a policy point of view? From government's contribution to music, what should that be?
Go back to the roots of what made you come alive to be where you are right now. For an example, let's go back into finding what is our contribution. For an example, we could send messages. I could sing a song in front of my oppressors and they would never know it's me singing. And they never know I'm talking about them because I'm sending a message to my people. An oppressor would dance to my song only to find out that I'm talking about them. So in other words, I would say it's important to go and honor the people who are the incubators of our sound. Number one, the Khoi, the Sun, all those people. There's a lot of music lying in there that is foundational to what we should be doing. But we've put to the side, and then we need to be able to go to the roots of what pushed us to where we are, and go deeper and dive in there and be able to, when we're going to fund the arts, it should not be about popularism, but it should be something that is based on, is this nation building, or is this going to grow somebody, or is this challenging us to actually, because we've got so many projects, man, that are sitting out there that are unfunded because somebody doesn't have the right connection and the right vocabulary to fill in forms. But we need to go back and really dig into what made us who we are and brought us to this level. And because that which made us who we are will carry us to the next level. So policy-wise, I think that it should be that, I've experienced a few times when people were even trying to apply for certain projects that were really of great content, people would say, okay, where's this project from? Is it from maybe like from Cape Town? We don't fund Cape Town. When I found, the whole idea of popularism as opposed to, we need a panel of people around, even when they come and work with projects. We need a steering committee that is going to help influence the decision makers. The steering committee, this is where I love having musicians as steering committee, not as being in charge of the department, but to do the steering committee, in other words, to be able to say, let's weigh all these things and find out what makes sense. Because right now we are busy funding, we are busy putting money in places sometimes that do not really matter the most. I'm just trying to paraphrase this whole thing because it's a sore spot to go to it, because there are a lot of things that we can be doing, but we need to get back into investing into our own music, funding our own curriculums, funding our own, any project that comes.
The development of South Africa music curricula. You are working with the Americans at this moment about a South African-based music script.
Yeah.
Can you just take us through that?
Because for an example, I've been studying a bass for a bit of time, and when I was looking at South African bass, I was like, man, wait a minute, there's a lot in here. How do we as a people share what we have with the rest of the world? Because I come from an era where sometimes where people were so much like, they're going to steal our music and all those things. I'm like, no one can steal me. We need to share to expand this whole world, we need to share our music with people. So even when I was just, for an example, it came from when I was sitting with Bela Fleck and Flecktones, and there was Victor Wooten. We're just jamming a few things. Now Victor Wooten is playing on the other side, playing bass. I'm playing here, and then all of a sudden I start to play some South African basses. Like, how do you do that? Show me how you do that.
So there's an actual South African way of playing bass.
Yeah, South African way of playing bass is so varied and is so deep and is so interesting. So even as I'm starting with it, I feel overwhelmed because by the time I've taught about Mpatanga and I've taught about even Umaskandi, and by the time you name all the genres, because, and then not only major on the bass itself, but also the bass singers. There's a style in which people, like, there's a style called Isjele. Guys from Ejele, they have a way, the foundation is bass there. They all start with bass. And you listen to even Istratamia, bass, Imbube, bass, the foundation of a bass and all those things. So I'm in the process of actually consolidating and putting together a curriculum that is going to help from the beginners of bass guitar or South African bass up to a level of advanced level. I take it from basics on how to play, because for me it's simple and just natural to play. But I played something, and some of the guys in America, in Europe, they're like, wait, who has one, 2, 3? I said, oh, the way we feel that, yeah. Oh, one for me, I'm not going to be like doom, doom, doom. No, sometimes it's if 1, 2, 3, 4, do, 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 do. They're like, where's one then? So I've just explained the pulse, the rhythm, the style to say no.
So you are trying to map it out in actual notes
to make sure that people can, because a lot of.
But is there a scale? Is it is what you just did? Is it on a major scale?
You see. That's the thing about us. We can do a major scale, and then within a major, we can throw in a minor too. So we can just throw everything in one go because we're driven by what we're hearing at that point in time. But there are the basics we can do. Like when I'm talking about jazz, when we're doing jazz, you can say, okay, guys, let's play a blues in F, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you just say blues in F, and then you start counting, and then people are going to play. So, and that becomes a thing in which the blues in F starts to set up, people can set up different melodies on top, based on the blues.
Yes.
And so And so now to get back to our own music, what is our standard? You know, what
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
I'm having at the back of my head.
Yeah, no, what is our standard of like, because our music is always based on 1, 4, 5. Most of the time we build on top of that. Now, we don't just say, guys, this is Pakanga in F. I've done that before, where all of a sudden it goes to like Manenberg. Do dum do do da 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 da.
Yeah.
That's 1 5 10. Oh my God, da da da. That's 1 4 5. So we can be able to tell people, okay, guys, let's do Mpakanga in F.
So this is what you will be doing in the curriculum.
Yeah,
I see.
So, and then describe to people why I came up with that baseline, because 1 4 5 could be like that. There's a Xhosa way of playing 1 4 5. There's a Sotho way of playing 1 4 5. There's a KwaZulu, the Natal with, because for an example, you listen to like Pida we, Pida we, Pida we. That's 1 4 5.
It is, yes, yes.
So all of that. But now, why do the Xhosa rhythm? Why the dudum? No way. But if you had to give to me a bass from isiZulu, I'll play it. So why do I do that? So I need to explain. This is the KwaZulu way of doing things. This is Xhosa way. This is Sotho. For an example, if you're thinking about, is like Bob Jonas Kwangwa. So when you listen to most of the guys, the bass is always ahead first.
I see.
So, to describe all those genres and be able to get people to say, okay, let's do my basics here, and call it with the names that we use when we play music.
That the standard is Mpakang.
Exactly.
Like a blues, there's a standard for blues.
Yeah, this is
Yes, there's a standand for jazz.
Yeah, standard. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do Irabi. Let's do Marabi for example.
Yes.
What is that style?
Yes.
Oh, let's do this. So, just create those names and use the existing names and the styles. Because sometimes even when you listen to people playing music, and it's good to listen to people. They're like when they're imitating bass, you start to hear them using the same zumba pa kuzumba, zumba pa pa zumba. It's like, oh, wait. So if I start to create a vocabulary that's familiar with what is going. So if I say
let's say Zumbaba.
let's Zumba. Let's play a Zumba in F. Zumba.
Zumba in F. Yeah.
Zumba. You see. Then now, and then when I feel like, okay, let's move a step further. So
This is
Guzumba. Guzumba.
Yeah.
And then you start to add certain vowels that are gonna help you understand even rhythm.
And then somebody in Japan can actually learn on a book.
Yeah.
Let's say a big tsunami came, and what was left were notes. They'll be able to take that instrument and play Zumba. Bazumba, bazumba.
By the time
Because at the moment they can do that. They can do blues, they can do jazz, because it's written somewhere as a standard.
see,
I see.
yeah, I mean, for example, when you hear somebody on the side, you hear them say tumperepe kuzumba, kuzumperepe kuzumba, and so you start to say, okay, where do we put the perepe on top of it?
Yeah. Perepe.
That's the language they speak. So we teach them, and then when you say that it's familiar, then because that in itself is so musical, people don't recognize that it's musical because they believe musical must be only transcribed into English and how no, it's how you're hearing it.
Yes, because that's a sound.
That's a sound.
That's a sound.
Yeah.
It is the quintessential translation of sound into, it's a word, it's an onomatopoeia.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. But there's obviously different bases. You said you've got how many? 17 bass instruments in your house.
I've got about 25 basics.
25.
Yeah, they all have a history.
That's okay. But
Yeah.
you were telling me about the two
Yeah, fretless.
frankless?
Yeah, fretless.
Fretless, yes. And that it sounds very different.
Yeah.
So these words you are just making,
Yeah.
are they dependent on the fact that somebody who was maybe playing in a Maskandi and was doing the bass line in Maskandi may have inaugurated the sound in Maskandi with a bass enganama?
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Yeah.
That's I'm asking if that matters, that in the end, whatever scale you will be writing, you will also have to indicate that it has to be delivered in this specific way with a specific instrument without frets, with frets and all of that.
Yeah, I would have to describe, because a lot of some of the music that I played, some of the most popular tracks I played, I used a fretless bass. And people were hearing it.
Hulugile. I know that that the bass in Tsepotsula's Hulugile is fretless. That sounds it doesn't sound like a guitar, huh? I mean, if you've heard the guitar with, almost sounds distorted, the one with without the frets. So you call them frets?
Yeah. So I mean, is a piece because that's why a guitar is made, and then there's a piece of wood that, and then in the piece of wood, then all these things that go, the steel,
that help you know,
called frets.
Yes.
So what they are there for is that if you play within this middle of the two frets, if you go to another one, it helps define where the next note is.
I see.
But a fretless doesn't have frets. So if you are playing, you must be accurate.
Yes, of course.
Because on a fretted, you can just play.
Yes.
It's safe. But a fretless, you must hear it. You must be right where the note should be. So you must be on point with it, So for an example, then when describing, I don't know, just for an example, when Brahiu came back to, and he couldn't come to South Africa to go to Botswana to record, where they did Umtlalipula. If you listen to the bass, Umtlalipula was recorded by my favorite bass player of all time in South Africa, called Zenzele Mchunu. He used a plectrum. That's another, because there's a whole thing to explain. There's a finger playing, there's also a plectrum style of playing.
He played a bass with
the plectrum. Yeah, so...
And is that normal? Is that what people do a lot?
It's common within styles, but mostly even Maskandi. Maskandi is always a plectrum. And the strings they use, they always choose flat round.
Oh, he played the guitar, not the bass.
No, the bass. Bass, yeah.
Because it's normally guitar leads that.
It's guitar that you always see with the plectrum, yeah. And Kumaskande, they normally have two.
Yes.
Because they are picking.
Yes.
As such. But, and then bass most of the time they use a fretted. They used to mostly fretted. And then, but the strings, they used to use flat round strings, because you can get steel strings, and you got the flat round ones. The flat round ones do not have much sustain, but they have more like short, stumpy stone, but they're thicker in sound. So that's why most of the guys in Pakistan, they like those strings, because they are specific, they are there, they are thick, and when you're playing them, they create a very unique sound that becomes distinctly.
I see.
So, yeah. So when you're hearing Umtlalipula, for an example, when I make example of that, Umtlalipula was a very, because Brahiu, of course, he came as Brahiu. And when he tried to actually get somebody to record Umtlalipula, he called different bass players and different people. His stuff was just not working. Then he thought, wait. Then they told him, let's go, this Soul Brothers. And that's where Zenzele Mchunu was. And then Upra Moses Ngwenya. That's another story, how Upra Moses always plays the organ, because nobody does that anywhere in the world. And so Upra Moses, he came over, and immediately when they played Umtlalipula, immediately from the first note, people just said, this is it. Zenzele was doing that one, but that bass line is a very difficult bass line to play. a difficult one. Yet it's when you understand why and how, then it becomes easier. But it's you need to know which is a stroke that is upstroke or downstroke to start the first note. Because so when you listen to Mkali Polo, for example, it's that's a bass line he played. So so you must go to and stay within the rhythm, because there was a metronome running which was strict, So I had him. By the time I played that, and I listened, because I knew this man was a genius. So, but it showed how to play what the specific style is for umpatanga and what style it needs, and how do you play the plectrum. And even the plectrum itself, you must know which size to use. So it's a whole interesting part of how these guys, they did this thing as normal. When you listen to Joseph Makwela, that man, the first bass player to bring an electric bass to South Africa. And when you listen to Gazeta, there was a and he played that. That was like that thing resonated all over the world. That's why.
So there is like Gangena.
That is a classic.
Who's the bass line?
That is Joseph Makwela. He opens the song, by the way.
Yeah.
That's counterpoint.
Yes. But isn't it that thing in South Africa of bass, the bass line, strings? It's strings.
Yeah.
Well, strings are part of rhythm section
In
the band.
Well, strings.
So, but that thing of call and response for guitarists, where the bass is calling and the lead responds, and they play as if it's a call and response.
Yeah.
Isn't it also truly something very unique here, so to speak?
Man, you see, that's another thing that's tied to history. Because before, I used to call Inde Bayami when we didn't have a telephone.
Yeah. Everybody did. I mean, at some point, people didn't have a telephone.
You call, and then they respond, and then you send a message, then they respond.
Yes.
So it became even how we converse musically.
Yeah, but you see that sound. I want to ask you, because when Mahwadela Queens and Mahlatini do that, in that you and Benjamin Dube had something similar in the track I Feel Like Going On, which I think it's how does it go, like I'll tell you. Yeah, if I find it. Okay. But it's, I want to know who's playing the bass there.
On I Feel Like Going On.
Yes, there is a specific. That's Maskandi, ne? That's Maskandi. There's a specific. There are 2-3 Maskandi songs on the album, but that one. Ding 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 ding. Ding 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 ding. Yeah. Who's playing the bass line there?
It's me. It was all me on that album. Yeah.
And then the lead?
On that one, there was a time where Ntokozo Zungu would play, and there's also a time where we had Eric Paliana play. I think it was Ntokozo Zungu. Ntokozo is one still. Yeah.
And then ding ding ding.
And I do Isaac Mchalo on drums. Then
it is Mahwadela Pins.
It's more like than Batanga.
Yes. Mahlatini. Yeah. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. So this curriculum is it? It's obviously something the Americans are going to be teaching.
Well, it's something that I want to be able to have. Of course, I want to expose it to everyone. It's going to include videos as well. So where I'm going to do a video where I show people this is why I did this and also what's the history tied to it. Because most times, it's so important to let people not only play the music from the head and play it from the heart.
Yes.
Then, okay, where does this come from? Because, for an example, when we go back to Hulukile, when Tsebo told me the story, it's a sad story.
So you are playing the bass in Hulukile.
Yeah. And so when he told me...
And it doesn't have these things you were describing. It's fretless.
That was the fretless. Yes. That you hear in fretless. Like I was describing to you. Hey! And I was describing do, 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 do.
But take my breath away. Are they playing fretless?
That's a fretless bass player.
Ah.
So, it's a very...
Was that the template for you when you were doing Hulukile? Take my breath away.
Not really, because for me, I saw a fretless, the first time I saw fretless being played, in fact, it was Ubagiti. He played the fretless. I was like, that's interesting. And then I heard, actually before Ubagiti, I listened to Jaco Pastorius. And I was playing fretless bass because he actually had a bass with frets and he removed them personally himself. So when I listened to Jaco Pastorius, I was like, oh man, that's interesting. And then I heard, I'm like, I like this bass, but it's not, doesn't restrict me. It goes in between. So I was like, this is nice. Then I listened to Charlie Mingus playing the upright bass. I was like, man, Charlie Mingus. And I listened close, and then I listened to Johnny Tiani from here, South Africa. I was like, whoa. So there are no frets there. So it allows you, to find those notes in between the notes as well. And so then, when I saw that, I was like, no, man, Ubagiti, then I was like, that's nice. So, and I remember that I bought exactly the same bass that he had. I saw it in a shop in Durban. I was like, oh, that's a fretless. And I tried it. I was like, oh, I got glued to that instrument. So fretless. So when I heard Hulukile, the story when Tsepo told me.
What was the story?
It was about how his wife was killed. So he was dedicated the song to his wife, and then it's also, and I still remember up to this day, we finished recording. And when I heard the synth bass, because there are two basses there, there's a synthesizer. When I listened to that, I said, keep that. But let me cry with Tsepo.
Yo.
So when you listen
you
to
are crying.
That one, I'm expressing it's a cry of a bass. So it's that is sorrowful playing, So that's why when you listen to that line, even after I listened to it myself, and I'm thinking, wow, jeez. And that's one of the few moments where I can say I'm happy. Because I feel like I could do better whenever I hear some. But
there you felt that this is enough.
I served the purpose right there. Because...
Yeah, but the bass line of Hulukile, it's almost doing your initial comments. It is hugging the music there.
It keeps the whole thing rounded together. So because when I finished recording that, he listened, his head was down, and I looked up, he was weeping. And he got up and he left and he went walking just for a second. I remember getting up after him, he just said, don't worry. He said, don't worry, Masondo. I just need to take a walk. I just had to. And he went walking around. We just had to wait for after that record. That's how emotional that whole recording was. It was hard. So, but, in other words, how you use the instrument to suit what is needed, And like about Jabu Kanyele, most of the time, I would listen to Jabu Kanyele. There was one of my favorite basses. It's an orange. The first 6-string bass that played on most hit songs in the country, because I would listen to Jabu Kanyele, what does he want? And then I would listen to how he speaks. I interpret that. Guma intros, even of the songs, to do that. And then by the time I'm settling in with the groove, Simple Wedana's first album, that recording as well, I played it an upright bass. And so, Zimgawana's recording. So yeah, I just keep remembering them. But what's so important is, am I serving the purpose?
How about you come serve my purpose in our next project?
We shook hands live on TV. It's done.
Victor Masondo! Thank you so much.
Yeah, but
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I think maybe we need a second session, but with other musicians
You know
to
what?
try and weave together the question of this contribution that South Africa had across instruments, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe you do this call and response, because we've been imitating those sounds with our voices,
Yeah.
with our mouth, but you could actually do it with an actual instrument. Maybe that's the next session we're gonna have on African Renaissance podcast.
I'll bring the other instruments to explain. This is a fretless.
Yeah.
This is a 4-string. This is a 5-string. This is a 6-string, and why?
And
So the plectrum is how it works.
yes,
So I'll bring everything so that you can have a
a
demonstration.
masterclass.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Done deal. Thank you.
Dango, comrades.